Hello, everybody. My name is Scott Andersen, and I'm the Senior Director of Partner Development with Pearson Education. And I have an interesting story about the transformative power of technology and how it relates to personalized learning. I'm going to share that with you. First and foremost, this is stating perhaps one of the most obvious things I could say is that technology has transformed the way that we live, learn, and work. And if we take a look at the brief history of technology, we can see way back in 2400 BC, the abacus was utilized. In 1642, we added a different type of adding machine. In 1838, the telegraph, the phonograph and microphone. In 1893, this was actually surprising to me, was the beginning of wireless communication. Then in 1973, a big step was with the Ethernet and the personalized computer. 1990 was the birth of the World Wide Web. And in 1993, we had our very first smartphones. So that's a history of technology in about 4,300 years, almost 4,400 years. Let's pick it up with the smartphone. Smartphones alone represent the idea of constant change. Look what's happened in the past 26 years from the original brick phone, which I actually had one, I will confess, all the way up to today's smartphones and notebooks. And the amount of technology that is now packed into these phones is super powerful compared to some of the very original computers that at one time were thought to be the latest and greatest. So in just 26 years, the evolution of the smartphone has clearly demonstrated change. And as we start shifting gears into talking about education, according to the U.S. Department, according to the U.S. Department of Education, 1 in 10 U.S. schools is labeled as failing. And this is from a report that was published in July of 2015, which also means then that the students in those schools could potentially be struggling as a result of what is taking place in those schools. When we look at what's happened in business life, again, trying to talk about the notion of change and transformation. In the last 15 years, 52% of the Fortune 500 companies have disappeared off the list. In 1955, the average life expectancy of a company was about 75 years. Roll forward to 2015, and the average life expectancy of a company is 15 years. Again, talking about this constant notion of change. Again, stating the obvious, our world is changing. When I look in, for instance, at what's happening in education with charter schools, look what's happened over the past 15 years as far as the enrollment that is taking place in the charter school environment. From less than 500,000 to 15 years later, over 2.5 million, which is a growth of about 500%. When we look at what's happening in online and blended learning enrollment, in the last 6 years, it has doubled. And it is still growing to, in 2015, 3 million students taking online and blended courses. One of my favorite authors and one of my favorite all-time books is a book called The End of Average by Todd Rose. And in the book, he talks about the concept of fit, or perhaps even the lack thereof, and how the appropriate fit for people creates opportunity. And I'm going to go ahead and read this quote that's here. This is straight out of the book. If the environment is a bad match with our individuality, if we cannot reach the controls of the cockpit, our performance will always be artificially impaired. If we do get a good fit with our environment, whether that environment is a cockpit, a classroom, or a corner office, we will have the opportunity to show that what we are truly capable of. This means that if we want equal opportunity for everyone, if we want a society where each of us has the same chance to live to our full potential, then we must create professional, educational, and social institutions that are responsive to individuality. So what are the implications for K-12 schools? Well, one of them is that schools and districts are finding many ways to help students succeed. And many districts are using the transformative power of technology to help their students and their teachers succeed. Personalized learning to individual students determines the extent to which schools and districts succeed. The needs of many, but not all, students can be met in a traditional classroom setting. And the most successful schools have a variety of ways to ensure students are learning and are successful. And here's one of the key messages, is that every student has a pathway to success. In today's new world, when we talk about personalized learning, that individual approach that was spoken of by Todd Rose, I thought I would share what personalized learning does for students and teachers. For students, it provides unique pacing, an individual course path, custom timing, adaptive learning opportunities, and of course, choice. For the teachers, it helps provide better information to help students succeed. It provides multimodal tools for instruction and learning. It provides quick access to data, ease of customization, and strong communication pathways with students, between teachers and families. In the old school environment, which is more typical of the environment that I was growing up in and that many of us grew up in, is that we have the same scope and sequence for all students. We all do the same thing, the same time, same day, in the same way. We have limited time to learn. The content moves on even if the students have not learned foundational concepts, and this is most evident frequently in math class. Teacher and curriculum are at the center. The instruction and the curriculum is geared to the average, and assessment does not inform instruction. Does that sound familiar? One of the keys to personalized learning is around the notion of empowering teachers, school leaders, went ahead too quick, is the notion of empowering teachers, leaders, and students. That's a very key component to success. And when these pathways are provided, when there is empowerment, and when there is that individualization that is spoken of, you get some of these results. And these are pretty common in the realm of personalized learning and online and blended learning. Here's one from Brent. My online high school is extremely flexible. If it wasn't for them, there is no way I could be as far as I am today. Here's one from Basia, who is a coordinator at a virtual high school. Nobody's being left behind with our current program. We all work together well, students, staff, and teachers. The new partnership has made a huge difference. And then from the Foundation for Blended and Online Learning, a report that was just released in February of this year, here's a quote from a student named Jacob. I find it hard to focus on lots of things at once, but I'm good at being focused on one or a few things, which is easier to do here because I make my own schedule. Not only was I able to work at my own pace, but I received one-on-one attention from my teachers. I was able to choose courses that I was interested in and knew might be helpful someday for a career. And Jacob had been struggling in the traditional school. He is not wired to sit down and listen and learn. He is very, very bright, but he learns differently. It's a very common scenario. So with individualization and with personalized learning, one size does not fit all. In fact, one size fits one. So for students, let's create pathways that are designed specifically for them, not for the average, not for somebody else, but for them and their unique characteristics and traits and learning abilities. So it's designed for them and grows with them. Just like in our healthcare system today, particularly in some of the cancer treatments, it's moving towards personalized medicine. It has the goal of matching the treatment to the unique physiological attributes of the patient, thus rendering much more higher levels of success. Also, companies that have committed themselves to valuing the individual are achieving global success. And when we talk about the American dream, the original formation of the American dream was not about becoming rich or famous. It was about having the opportunity to live your life to the fullest potential and being appreciated for who you are as an individual. Personalized learning and a shift to digital education creates greater opportunities for your students and for teachers. Online and blended learning is here, and it is changing the way we teach many students. When we think about personalized learning for teachers, I love this quote. In a personalized learning environment, teachers are no longer the keepers of knowledge, basing instruction on standardized curriculum at one level. Instead, a teacher's role is to manage the resources and supports that students need when they need them in order to reach mastery. In personalized learning, classrooms, teachers adjust instruction daily, sometimes even more frequently, based on identified individual needs instead of creating highly structured lesson plans days in advance. And I can remember during my days as a teacher, that is exactly right. I would sit down a couple weeks in advance and plan instruction. And that perhaps was not the ideal. It was not, but at the time, really didn't know any better. And then let's move on to discussing personalized learning for students. I don't think that what children want from school has fundamentally changed. I think they want to be inspired, engaged, and motivated. They want to learn new things, to be challenged, and to do things differently. Whereas we may have been happy to sit at school and have information given to us and copy it down, learning by rote, children now don't want this and won't accept this at school. They like working with each other and finding things out for themselves. I think this is also what we need to be doing as responsive teachers. We need to be giving children the skills to think for themselves and be active learners who take responsibility for their own learning. And that's from Rebecca, who is a teacher. One last area upon which I think we all can agree is that our work as educators can and should be centered around the students that we serve. And I have a hand-drawn sketch that speaks in a very basic way around how we can do it. And this simple model speaks of 4 key components to creating a student-centered learning environment. I will begin with the curriculum and courses that students take. From a student-centered and personalized learning approach, the courses naturally should have interest, relevance to the student, and there should be a component of choice. Next is the instruction. Of course, the way we teach, when we teach it, how we teach it, why we teach, and to whom we teach are all very important to personalized learning, as well as grouping, small groups, individualized instruction, student-led learning, and differentiation with pacing. We also have operations and support. And naturally, all the operations and support should synergize with a student-centered approach, which this includes the technology that students use that support both the students, the teachers, families, and also the facilities and environments in which students are learning. And last but not least is the professional development and coaching of staff, again, directed at providing a student-centered learning experience. And just like with students, the professional development and coaching that teachers receive should be timely and ongoing, relevant, and there also should be a component of choice, again, all directing and focusing towards providing the best student-centered learning experience. Hopefully, my chicken scratch drawing is a basic and foundational model that we can agree can be used to forge individual student pathways. And when combined with transformative power of technology, we create ongoing and adaptive conditions for student success. As I finish up, I hope in some small way this video has made you think about change, the transformative power of technology, and about personalizing learning for your students. Let me know if you would like to discuss more about how personalized learning and personalized online and blended learning can help create pathways to success for your students. My contact information is right here on the screen, and feel free to reach out anytime. I hope to talk soon. Enjoy your day.